The Bliss Business Podcast, the show about empathy, connection, and consciousness in business. Today's episode is brought to you by Zero Company, your paid search, social media, and programmatic ad experts.
Welcome back to the Bliss Business Podcast series, Scaling with Purpose. This is our 10 to 15 minute podcast series where we explore how to embed purpose into every level of your organization. I'm Steven Sakach here with Tullio, Siragusa, and Maher. Hey, guys.
Hello.
How's it going?
Good. So today we're talking about the challenges of staying purposeful at scale, how to keep your mission clear and intact as your organization grows. Because here's the truth. The bigger you get, the easier it is to drift. So how do you stay grounded in what matters the most? Let's get to it.
Well, thanks, Steve. One of the paradoxes of success is that growth, while exciting, can dilute the very purpose that fueled it. You know, new hires come in who weren't there at the beginning. New markets might require different messaging. Investors or stakeholders may push for speed and scale over soul. The founding energy starts to fade away. And we see that happen all the time. When things grow, it's like, all right, well, what was our purpose? Because everyone's chasing that growth.
Exactly. You know what? It's not always because people stop caring, right? It's just that complex. You know, the complexity increases as you get bigger and you go from one team to many and from one location to multiple locations or multiple regions. And suddenly you've got different cultures and priorities competing for attention. And if purpose isn't actively maintained, it becomes passive. And then eventually it becomes forgotten.
Yeah, and you can see the signs when it starts happening. So like the decision-making gets really transactional. The internal alignment breaks down. Brand messaging, it starts to sound generic. We've seen this all the time. And employees don't feel emotionally connected to the mission anymore. This is when purpose needs to go from being a passion to being more of a system. So we're going to talk about some strategies here, how to actively protect and evolve your purpose as your organization scales. So we've got three big strategies here to go through.
Well, Steven, you said one of them, which is super important, it has to be built into your system. So, when you build into your system, not in the way that makes it feel like it's bureaucratic, okay? Codify your purpose into leadership, development, onboarding, decision-making tools, even performance reviews. Give people a framework for living it, but not a script that they have to follow.
Okay. Give people a framework for living it, not a script. I love that. You know, when purpose becomes part of the operating system, not just the cultural deck, it scales more naturally. But you also have to leave space for people to express it in their own way. So it's especially more important in diverse teams across locations and cultures.
Yeah, and so strategy 2 here, we've talked about this a little bit. You want to hire and promote for purpose alignment. As you grow, your strategy needs to evolve. Start by hiring people who genuinely resonate with your purpose. And then, just as importantly, promote leaders who model that alignment in their behavior. So skills get things done, but values shape how things are done.
Exactly. And if your purpose is to empower small business owners, but your leadership team is only focused on scaling enterprise accounts, that's an example where there's a misalignment that can create cultural confusion, even a misalignment entirely.
And that's when things go off track, because people take cues from what's rewarded. If performance is valued over purpose, then purpose will fade. I always say compensation drives a lot of behavior, or what we measure drives behavior. So if purpose is just part of something that's kind of there, but it's not part of the leadership DNA, it can get lost. Now, if it's part of the leadership DNA, then it multiplies and it has staying power.
Well, it's funny you say that too. I've seen where if you're not following purpose correctly and you're using it just as hey, this is our purpose, but we're really holding you accountable to performance. I've seen resentment where that conversation about coming back to the purpose sounds like lip service. And actually, I don't use the word, the P word pisses people off. It ticks people off, right? Because they're like, okay, I don't want to hear this because all you really do care about is performance because that's what I'm being judged by. And now you're
It insults people's intelligence. It's performative. It's like, oh, we have it there. Please.
Yeah.
So the third strategy is creating intentional moments of renewal. So growth often forces companies to move fast, but sometimes you need reflection, right? This is just as crucial. So regularly revisit your purpose as a team or company and recommit to it. Ask, are we still on track? And if necessary, evolve the language or strategy to match your scale.
So we've seen companies do this by hosting annual purpose retrospectives or values workshops, which I think is super effective. Others embed purpose storytelling into quarterly town halls where teams share how they live the mission each quarter, or how they live that mission that quarter more specifically.
Yeah, and rituals, they're there as all this time, right? So they keep the heartbeat strong. So purpose it's really like a muscle. It needs to be exercised or it atrophies. When people reconnect with the deeper why, they show up differently. They show up more engaged, more aligned, more whole, and ultimately more fulfilled.
So let's bring this to life with a quick example. So Kickstarter started with a powerful purpose. It's to help bring creative projects to life. And as they scaled, they made a bold move to become a public benefit corporation, kind of legally embedding their mission into their charters. They even built internal checks to ensure that every product or policy aligned with their values. So this is a system, and it's prioritizing community over profit when they do that.
And that's a great example of a purpose evolving with the company. It's not about resisting scale. It's about designing scale with integrity.
Yeah, exactly. So to recap here, staying purposeful at scale, it takes intention, right? You can hope purpose will survive growth on its own, but you have to build it into how you grow. This means institutionalizing purpose and systems without making it rigid, hiring and promoting based on purpose alignment, creating ongoing rituals to renew and commit to your mission. So growth doesn't have to mean,
gamify. I mean, it doesn't have to be this thing where it's so complicated. Just have fun with it. Like you have reward ceremony for people who hit the number or close the deal, or those are common reward ceremony, right? Reward someone who exemplified one value of the organization or exemplified living the purpose of your organization. Gamify it. Make it something everybody strive for to do. I mean, I think that it's not a hard thing to do, really, if you just focus on it.
Absolutely. And even when you're doing your team building exercises, use those opportunities when you're going out with your team to do some team building, to re-engage on your purpose. Share. I have everyone share, hey, how do you feel that you lived your purpose this last quarter or this last month? And have those conversations, keep them engaging. I think a lot of times these teams will go out, they'll enjoy a beer together, they might hit a couple golf balls, but using those opportunities to really speak to your team and share, is what we're doing aligned with our overall purpose of the company? Do you feel it is? And if not, where can upper management or leadership teams do better in those areas? A lot of times just listening to your team, they'll give you all the food and ammo and fuel you need to keep it going, or know that you're on the right track, or know where you need to make adjustments.
Yeah, and I like you guys just talked about, this can be fun, right? You can have fun with it, and when you go home at the end of the day, instead of feeling, just beat down by the work day, this is where you're like, wow, that was a fun day at work, and the more we can do of that, the better. So, in our next episode, we're going to talk about purpose-driven branding and marketing, how to ensure that your brand and marketing efforts communicate and reinforce your purpose at every touch point. Don't forget to subscribe and share this podcast with others building purpose-led businesses. See you next time.